Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Dave, second by Michael to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Dr. Shaw?
Tim Swatley, our school resource officer, is here tonight to kind of update the board on things from the first semester. I know he went to some pretty extensive SRO training, and so as part of our education spotlight this month, I'm going to give him the floor to share a few minutes of what he's been doing in the school district.
All right. Pretty much, I don't know, for me, it's business as usual, but it's a whole different surrounding. Went back through my paperwork. In the first semester, I did 43 home visits with staff. I was involved with 60 incidents on school property. Assisted with a medical or mental health problem 7 times. I've made 17 police reports. And I arrested 1. It's been kind of a busy first semester. With that, we also, due to budgeting and personnel issues with the police department, there was 19 days where I had to work patrol as well as the school, where I worked both. And we've been able to make it work. Luckily, we've gotten 3 for patrol that are on their own finally, and so it's looking like I should be good to be just at school for the foreseeable future, unless we have people quitting, which always happens sometimes. Earlier this semester, went to Safe Schools and Conferences, or Safe Schools and Colleges Conference. There, got certified in training people to create emergency plans. Also went to the SRO school, like Dr. Shaw said. At the SRO school, we went over drug impairment training, drug identification, active shooter, public speaking, youth mental first aid, and many legal issues that we deal with school and juveniles, FERPA, and the whole juvenile gambit. It's been a pretty good semester. On my side, it's been nice because I've been worried about coming into the schools and being the outsider, and I haven't been. I've been pretty welcomed everywhere I go. It's been a pretty good partnership with the administration and myself. I'm hoping that this next semester we can solidify the bonds that we started. I've already got students that send me emails, hey, I got questions about this, or they'll stop me and go, can I meet you at a certain time today to talk to you? Sure. Those are the connections we want. On the school side, you really want the person that can watch for what drugs could be wandering through the school, or what problems you could be dealing with, or stuff like that. On the law enforcement side, we're wanting those connections. The chances are, if youth don't see a uniformed officer as that bad guy that takes the guys to jail, or that guy that took my dad, that guy that took my mom, they see him as, hey, that's the guy I see at school. We have a better chance of having less problems when they become adults. And I'm seeing it already. I'll walk through Walmart and I'll get the kid going, oh, that's my officer. It's getting pretty nice. And I'm already seeing some changes with the mindset of younger students. I was in the kindergarten hallway about a month ago, and walking past Miss Horner's class, and the little girl ran out of the room. And Miss Horner ran after her, of course, but she wanted to come out and give me a hug. Miss Horner told me at the beginning of the school year she was shaking when she saw me. because she's afraid of cops. And now she wants to give me a hug. This is the mindset that I want to change. Because I don't have a chance when they become adults if they already are scared of me or hate me. So on the police side, I'm succeeding. And I'm hoping you guys succeed in what you're wanting done too. Any questions?
I think the feedback I get in the community is you're doing a great job. I know you've been to Rotary a time or two, telling us what's going on in the schools. I've heard from a high schooler or two that there's a certain group of kids that have cleaned up some of the things they were doing just purely based on the fact that you're in the building. And I know certainly that our staff not having to deal with some of the things that they would ordinarily, teachers and principals should not have to be law enforcement. And certainly you being there alleviates some of that.
Well, it's definitely, that's where the partnership comes into it. Because they can holler at me and go, hey, this is what I got. You have a second to stop over here. Sure, why not? And what I'm hoping to push a little bit as we further on, it's like the high school. They were working on their Constitution tests. And I'm in the office typing something. I hear them talking about the question. I was like, yeah, it's the Sixth Amendment. Huh? Look it up. That's just it. What do you mean? This is what I do for a living. I am good at this. Oh, well, you should have helped us out with this. I could. I can help you. It's those connections. Because on the teacher side of it, you have somebody right here that knows the backside of how constitutional law works. Rather than seeing in a book, I can give you examples. But there's so much more that I can do, and we're just grazing the iceberg on it. So hopefully it goes better, where we can get further involved.
I think you're doing a good job. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Billy?
I'd like to say I appreciate Officer Swadley's help. We wrote a grant. We did not receive it. It was up to $10,000. And hopefully next year they'll have the same opportunity for us to do that. But in doing that, we had some discussion about, what are the safety needs and what are some of those things that it's not necessarily about what he's doing on a daily basis, but how it can be incorporated in if there's funds available or that the grant becomes available again and we were able to secure it. So I think that's been a good basis too, is talking about that. During the second semester, along with these other duties, we're going to revise the safety plans that we have in place because they need to be updated and be more specific. And I think that with the work that Officer Swadley and Officer Kozacek had done in the past with the active shooter training that they had provided, that we can use some of that to make sure our teachers feel safe if we were to ever have a situation like that in the building. So I just wanted to point that out. We did not get the grant, but I appreciate him taking time to help write it and submit it. And that's kind of how grants go. Sometimes you get some, you don't get some, and hopefully next time we'll be able to secure it. So I appreciate that aspect.
He's also been teaching DARE in my building.
Oh, I have been teaching there in the junior high. And on Wednesday, this Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure we start this Wednesday. It'll be 5th grade as well. So 5th grade, 7th and 8th grade. It's going to be a good semester.
When do you do that? Just like a
Third hour.
Third hour at junior high, yeah. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
Anything else? Thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks for the good job you're doing. Next is new business.
Okay, in your package you have a copy of the academic calendar that is being proposed per the email that I sent you today. It's funny how you can look at something 20 times and then you look at it one last time and you see an error in the first month. That error, as I stated in the email, was simply that I didn't have August 12th highlighted, which denotes that it's a 12:30 dismissal. Even though it's the second day of school, that's consistent with what has been done in the past for that first Friday, so that all Fridays are consistently in the calendar as a 12:30 dismissal. So I did print off those for you to have in front of you. Other than that, the process getting to this point, last month we had public comment that demonstrated some concerns with current calendar and gave her opinion on where we should have start date and end date and breaks. From that point, I spoke with Libby Mills, our AEA president, about getting a calendar committee together, and each of the buildings had a representative. They gathered feedback from their buildings, and then we met as a committee, and then they shared with me the responses and the concerns and things that the buildings wanted to see. From that, all of that information, I felt that I needed to put 4 calendars together. 2 of the calendars both had a start date of August 11th. The difference between the 2 was Christmas break. One of them had a Christmas break exactly as we have this year, 2 weeks off, and then the Monday after New Year's. The other one started Christmas break later, started it in the middle of that next week, and then we went back to school also the middle of the week after the 1st of January, which what it resulted in was instead of 11 weekdays off, that one resulted in 9 weekdays off. The other 2 calendars, one was exactly as the one you have in front of you, but everything was moved back a week, starting school on the 18th, ending on the 23rd, and then the 4th one was the calendar that, with all of the information that was given, the public comment from last month, I felt like I needed to put that calendar together to represent what some community concern was with the calendar. So with that, also within your packet, you will see the survey results. I sent this out to the staff, and 120 staff members responded to the survey, and you can see that overwhelmingly, option 1 was with 55% of the votes going to that particular option. Option 2 was also the August 11th start date. So a little over 69% of the staff wanted an August 11th start date. That was very surprising to me because it just seems remarkably early. The consistent thing with that is that with fall sports starting when they do, if school gets moved back, Misha's leaving everything where it is. And so you literally could have, with one of the calendars, you could have had your first football game before school ever even started. With an August 18th start date, you have your football jamboree and possibly volleyball, depending on where that lands, and softball before kids are even in school. And so on one side, it makes sense to do it that way. I think this is one of these areas that I'm a firm believer in some cases of there being some shared decision making, and when you seek input from people, I think it's important to value that input that they give you. So even though this would not personally be my choice, based on the results, 55% of all the votes went for this particular calendar. The August 18th start date had about 27%, so about half of that. So it really wasn't even close. That's the option that the majority of staff would like. And so based on the public, the calendar that was put together based on the public comment input, received 4% of the votes. So it's not something that at least was very popular among those that voted. So with all that being said, the calendar that you have in front of you is my recommendation. Like I said, it's essentially is a reciprocal calendar of this school year, 174 days. And the one positive thing, if you have a start date at that point, you have plenty of time at the end of the year to add days if you deal with snow. So there, that was another comment and concern, was that not taking away the breaks during the spring semester, and by adding them to the end, it leaves those alone. So when you finish as early as this calendar does on the 16th, you can easily add those days at the end. So, questions I can answer for you?
So the board would like to open this up for public comment if there is any. We did have one or two last week, so if anyone would like to comment, we'll recognize you. If there's no comment, we would entertain a motion to approve the calendars presented by Dr. Schwab.
I'll make that motion that we approve the calendar as presented. Option 1.
What's the big objective of not starting a week later?
I really, the only major comment that I got from the committee meeting was that secondary level, they feel like, and this is the first time I've ever heard this, but they really feel like that time frame when school starts prior to Labor Day is some of the best engagement from kids that they see all year. And by moving it back a week, there's that much less time prior to that. Now, that doesn't mean, obviously, that it doesn't continue throughout the year, but that was really the one comment. I think because that second week of August has kind of been where the start date has been for a while, they like that earlier start and the earlier time in May being done. I've commented many times that when you're a 12-month employee, to me the calendar really doesn't matter. It's just a matter of, okay, this is when we're starting, this is when everybody shows up, this is when I've got to get everything done. My calendar from the superintendent's side is tax rates are due at the same time regardless of this calendar, budgets are due at a certain time. Those things don't really matter, but it's I was surprised that was what most people wanted. I thought that most people would want to move it back a week, but
How many employees do we have?
Probably, I guess if you consider custodial food service, which they wouldn't have probably got this. So those that receive this, probably 200. That would sound about right, Gail?
So more,
215.
more than half responded.
Do you think the response would be any different if it was open to parents?
Potentially, yeah.
The calendar that was presented by a parent received 4%.
5 votes, yeah. Which was an August 23rd start date. Last day of
Less
school,
Thanksgiving and less
last day of
Christmas.
school, May 18th.
What's the date of the football, Jamboree?
12th.
12th.
District that takes the whole Thanksgiving. Are we the only district that takes the whole Thanksgiving week off?
Crane does, because we implemented it my second year. And the reason we implemented it my second year was because our attendance, and I don't know if that's the reason why it was done here, but the attendance with your 7th through 12th grade students on that Monday and Tuesday was in the 50%. And so then when you have attendance that low during those 2 days, it's not cost effective to even be in school. You need to be in school on days when you're going to have 95%. And so that was the reason why we implemented that. And from my standpoint, when we did that, that was by far probably the most popular thing that was ever put into a calendar from parents and teachers. Parents really liked it.
When does fall sports practice start? The first?
Yeah.
Dave, do you still have your motion on the floor?
Still down with it.
Do we have a second? Are you?
Go ahead. I would say continue to table this and we go back next meeting.
So with motion die for lack of second, do we need to table it?
I'll remove my motion, make the motion that we table
Or are you waiting to see who goes first?
decision on it.
I'll
I'm
second
at-
that. I'd like to.
To table it?
I'm gonna have to get some more input from some
Yeah.
parents, because if I second this, or if I even vote for this, I'm gonna have some, upset people with me that voted for me for the board. Because starting school on August 11th, doesn't affect me anymore now that my son plays football, honestly. Doesn't affect me, but of any of the complaints that I ever had before I got on the board and up until I got on the board was junior high, 5:30 weights, and starting school around the 15th of August, everybody, that was, no one ever really complained to me about much anything else, so. I'd like to talk to the people who've talked to me before I.
When does this need action? We're good? Okay, then my motion is to table.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to reports. AEA?
I have nothing else to add, except I do want to say, again, it was in my report, but thank you for all that you do. And I hope you enjoyed the treats from AEA. And we have some more
Absolutely.
stuff too.
Thank you.
So,
Very much. Sodexo Food Service?
Nothing to add.
Sodexo Plants?
Big spoons? Huh? Big spoons?
Building Principals? We'll just start youngest and go up.
Youngest. Mr. Bax? Sorry, you want to come here?
You know, he used to say maybe to my son.
Let me rephrase that. Hey,
He used to say maybe to my son. Every time we talk, I'm like, my son could not run a building. You're up. Youngest.
You really want to reveal who's the oldest?
let's just start with Pate.
I'm not bad.
Mr. Mays?
Nothing to add.
Mr. Bax?
Nothing to add.
Mr. Colchins? Dr. Pope?
nothing bad.
Mr. Colchins not here. Athletic Director is not here. Transportation?
Nothing to add.
Dr. Lakin?
Nothing to add.
Dr. Reedus?
No, thank you.
Dr. Shaw?
All I want to say is I enjoyed watching some good basketball over break. Our kids represented themselves really well with class, and win or lose, I was proud to be a Hound Dog, so it was fun.
Board of Education? No one has anything? For the school board race, there's 2 open spots.
We have 2 filings, Steve McCullough and Larry Marks. And they're open till January, filing is open till January 19th.
2 weeks from tomorrow.
Anything else to add from the board? I'd just like to say that, you know, looking at our academic performances, our cohesion from one building to another, the recognition our counselors received, you know, I think things are going really smooth right now with our school. Certainly, as a board member, I'm proud of our school, proud of our staff, and I think the morale, the public perception of our school is better than it's been in a while, and I want to thank all of you for that. And if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to move into closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Michael. Dave, how you vote? Grant? Steve? Michael? I'm aye. Thank you for coming.